So the first thing to say here is that I did make a similar video to this a while back, but as I recall, the sound quality wasn't wonderful, or it's always good, I think, to kind of do updates on subjects that I have covered before, simply because I can look at them from another angle, and I think that that's something that is worth bearing in mind, because whenever I talk about a subject, I obviously feel it's worth talking about, and therefore at a different time I can bring a different angle to it. So this message, I hope it reaches my intended audience, which is university students here in the UK, anywhere in the world, but particularly here in the UK. I just want to share some thoughts with you, um, because I think that the general public doesn't realize there is actually a lot of pressure at university. Now, it's obviously different pressure from, like, say, being a frontline soldier. It's not that sort of pressure. I mean, there's no comparison, but I think that university can be an incredibly complex time in someone's life. I left university a long time ago. I mean, I'm not that old, I'm 33, but it does seem like a long time ago. I attended university, specifically the University of Wolverhampton, from 2004 to 2006. And I'm going to be very open and candid here because I think it's important in terms of helping people. I never graduated. And the reason I never graduated is not because I don't have the intelligence to handle, or I didn't have the intelligence to handle the work. It's that I got derailed. This is the truth. I got derailed by the social life there. I was living on campus. My course was journalism and editorial design because at the time my idea had this big ambition about being a frontline journalist, and I accept now that's unlikely to ever happen. But that was what I saw journalism as. I'd seen people like Kate Adie, John Simpson, Jon Snow, these frontline journalists who I saw as brave people documenting history. And I'd had all sorts of biographies on that. I'd seen films about it. Welcome to Sarajevo was, in a sense, the film that prompted me into that. And it was very disappointing that I never graduated. It's still something that bugs me, if I'm being totally honest, because I feel that it just feels like a gap in my life. Yet, by the same token, I don't miss university. I don't miss the life of university. I may well take a course at the Open University or something but money's always a factor. I don't know. That's something that I need to explore. But for now, what I just want to discuss is those pressures, and I hope this video could give a little bit of encouragement to any students out there who are just feeling overwhelmed by the whole experience. Because at university, what you find is not only are you interacting with lots of different people who are all trying to find themselves, and they're trying to pursue ambitions through their course. In many cases, they're away from home. In my case, obviously, I specifically wanted to go to another city to have another experience, because for me, the idea of going to university wasn't staying in the same city and seeing the same people that I'd been to sixth form with. I wanted a new experience. And don't get me wrong, there were good times. It was very exciting in the beginning. There were some genuinely good times. But the truth is, I came close to a nervous breakdown because I was putting enormous pressure on myself over what I felt I should be. And I also, if I'm being totally honest, got a bit paranoid. I thought that when I made friends and then they drifted away, people, I think at university level, it's quite difficult to know who your real friends are. So in that sense, it's probably a good position to go to university in the city whereby you know at least some people that are going to university with you. I mean, there's pros and cons about going away. There's pros and cons about. I think living at home and going to courses in the university is a very different experience from living on campus. But I really do have a lot of sympathy for young people who are feeling overwhelmed by the whole experience because I've been through it. I know what that's like. And my message to them is take it easy. Don't give up and try to be focused not just on your coursework, but just on a degree of stability. So if you do feel that you're partying all the time and it's getting out of hand, um, you need to try and push yourself to just slow life down a little bit because you're still very young. You'll be in your late teens, early 20s. I think you might have this fear because this is how I felt that if I don't live it up now, then you know, there's this misconception that when you leave university, life is like the excitement of life is gone. It's a bit like this notion that when you're in your 30s, you need to settle down. Well, I totally reject that. Um, Stability is extremely important, but stability shouldn't be confused with settling down or not having exciting experiences in life. It's more about just having a direction and trying to just not let things get on top of you. Unfortunately, there is a degree of pettiness at university, and I think student politics is possibly even more ruthless than it was in the past. So if you're getting involved in student politics, just be aware that it's everyone's trying to prove something, and everyone's different. So I can't exactly say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. But remember that if you do have political ambitions in the future, part of politics is listening to other people's point of view. So sometimes you might hear opinions that you don't like. One thing I find, and one reason I don't miss university, is I feel there is a lot of bullying on political grounds, on how people just feel about things. And it's natural to feel angry about what you perceive as injustice. But you have to remember everyone's ultimately in the same boat. So you may dislike someone because they're a conservative or because they're left leaning, but try and appreciate the fact that they're just trying to be true to themselves as well. So a degree of empathy in that sense. I don't mean you have to like them. I don't mean you have to agree with them, but just understanding that they're just trying to be true to themselves as well. Um, if you are being bullied, if you feel that people are gossiping about you and so on, it's I know that's very unpleasant. But from that point of view, please just remember there's a bigger world out there. And the idiots who are doing that, they haven't grown up. They shouldn't be in university. University is not for kids, it's for young adults. So if you do find that there's petty gossip going on, I'm not going to say ignore it because I know it's hard to do that. I'm not going to patronize people and say ignore it, but just be aware that don't let them ruin your university experience. Just be true to yourself. And I'm not going to say believe in yourself and because I mean of course believe in yourself, but I understand one of the problems here is that many people are still finding themselves, and that's okay. That's okay. I remember when I used to get depressed at university, sometimes people would say to me, oh, just be true to yourself, and I would say, well, I don't know who I am. So I do understand that dilemma, but the way to go about that is just try not to overwhelm yourself, whether that be partying too much, whether that be buying loads of things. Just it may be that some of the things that you're doing to make yourself feel better are actually making it worse because they're overwhelming your sense of direction. In other words, try not to complicate your life too much. Now, everyone is in different positions, you're all doing different courses, uh, and some of you might have seen some of my videos and not like me, not like my points of view. But I'm not telling you what to do here. I'm just saying that I have been through this. And when I hear of young people taking their lives at uni, I feel very sad. Apparently, Bristol University, 8 young people over a period of just a few years took their own lives. So I think there is enormous pressure at universities. And the best thing I can say is if you do feel that people are trying to get you down, whether it be other students or maybe you have a lecturer who's a bit harsh, just try not to lose focus. Focus on your course if you're happy in it. If it's not what you expected, there's possibilities of transferring courses. Um, what I would say is really try to take in the city that you're in. That was a big thing for me. Now, Wolverhampton's not the most exciting city in the UK, but it had its charms, and it was next to the second city, and it was close to Birmingham, so there's plenty of things to see in Birmingham. So whatever city you're in, try to get connected to the city. That's a good thing. I mean, I don't know why anyone would go to a university where they didn't like the city or they weren't interested in the city. I think that's a big factor. And also, if you've just finished your A levels and you're preparing to go to university, also bear in mind the things I'm saying. I don't want to put you off. University can be a great time. You can learn a lot about yourself and about the world and about other people. But there's a few things to remember, and this also goes for people who are at university. Yes, you're learning all the time, and that's a good thing, but don't assume that it's going to teach you everything about the world. It's not. You're going to come out into the world and find that you may find 10 years from your university experience, a lot of your opinions are very different from what they were then. And you may think, no, never. I know some of my opinions have changed drastically. And at the time, I felt very strongly about them. And that happens when you start to learn more and you start to think about things from a different perspective. And that's okay. So, what I would just close this video with is if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling depressed, please, please don't give up because it's only a temporary time in your life. Try to make the most of that time and don't feel despair about, oh, when I leave uni, the excitement of life is gone. Not at all. You'll still be in your early 20s, even if you're a mature student. So what? I'm a strong believer that age shouldn't be a barrier to taking life's opportunities. I really believe that. Anyway, people are living longer nowadays, so that's a big factor. But please don't despair. Please don't give up. Do try to believe in yourselves. And if there's pettiness going on, if you find that you're feeling lonely, I mean, one of the biggest things for me, and I don't mind being candid about this, I was miserable in terms of being alone. I didn't have a girlfriend at university, and it was a long time. I was in my mid 20s before I had my first proper girlfriend, and I didn't have it at all in university. There was times I was miserable, and my way of coping with that was binge drinking. Now, I'm not going to patronize people and say, oh, you shouldn't use coping mechanisms. All I would say is make sure you don't start relying on them, because that then turns into addictions. So just be careful about that. Um, so, I really do understand what it's like. I felt really lonely at times, really lonely. Yet I also have some happy experiences. But if anyone says, would you turn back time and go back to uni? Not in that sense. I certainly wouldn't like live in halls of residence. Um, because then I'd feel lonely paradoxically because I'm then older. I'm like a 33-year-old surrounded by 21-year-olds. I would feel out of place. So if for whatever reason you feel lonely, most universities should have some sort of support mechanism. And if you find that it isn't great, don't despair. There's ways to connect outside university as well. So please don't despair. Just keep your head high, try and focus, and try not to make life too complicated. That's something I would really say. So by all means, live it up, but be sensible about finances, about your lifestyle, because if you allow things to get out of hand, that will only make it a lot harder. And if you think it's already at that point, please try and get help because it will only get worse. So I just hope this video helps a little bit. Bear in mind there are many people in this country who've been through university. They know what it's like. And I know what it's like to be a young person. Sometimes you feel that people can be patronizing, all this, they think that you don't know anything because you're young. There's nothing wrong with not knowing everything because you will learn more things when you get into the outside world. So you need a little bit of humility as well. And that's the best things I could say, really. I wish you all the absolute best. But remember those things. Try not to let life get overwhelming. Try to have some degree of stability. Try to have self confidence. If you do feel really down, really depressed, don't despair because you're not alone. It won't last forever. And also remember that you're going to meet a lot of people with a lot of different views. So be tolerant. Um, I'm not saying you can't disagree with people, but just when I hear of the sort of censorship that's going on in university, I that makes me very uncomfortable because it makes me think that certain voices are being marginalized. So I'll just leave it there, and I hope this helps.